Well, we're in unprecedented times. Around the world, the coronavirus is having its impact in all walks of life. And the UK seems like it's heading into difficult times over the coming weeks and months. I'm going to do my best to bring you this content, and we'll keep it up for as much as we can. And I hope that you'll enjoy it through what might be some challenging times. And I know fellow YouTubers and content creators are doing the same, and it may be that this sort of media is a bit of light relief from the circumstances that we all find ourselves in. So I'm going to carry on and do my best to bring you interesting content. This is it, my secret weapon against slugs, at least in the cold frame: play sand. So this is going in there, and hopefully it's going to present a barrier to all the slugs that would like to eat my seedlings. See how we get on. There was a frost here last night, so I put fleece over the top just for that added protection, and everything looks okay. There we are, the sand in the cold frame, and I think the most important thing is that the edges are really marked as a barrier with that sand, because that's where the point of entry is going to be, I think, for anything that gets in either underneath somehow or over the top and into the surface at the bottom. And hopefully if we put the plants down onto that, we'll have protected them, and it'll be just a few pounds well spent. So I've made a point of making sure that all the trays are just away from the side of the cold frame by an inch or so, and hopefully I've created an effective barrier, and time will tell. Next step then is getting this base fixed so that it can be offered into the trench to make sure everything lines up in an appropriate way, and then I can start to think about leveling it. Now, this thickness of wood tends to want to use a fairly meaty screw, and this particular type of screw has a bespoke head which locks into the bit that's provided, and that gives you a really firm grip when you're driving this into the wood. And with a thick wood like this, that can be helpful, but just don't lose the bit. And I'm going to drill some pilot holes first just to help me get through the bulk of the wood, and we'll see how we get on. So getting this frame onto its resting place is going to be pretty heavy work, but I've got to do it in this U shape because I need to get over the top of the bush. I think that's going to be easier than threading it round in angles, so that's the tough bit, and I'm going to get on with it. So that went quite well. I put an extra bolt into the backs of those that long beam because I knew it was going to take some tension when I moved it, and I think that paid dividends. And having put it against the back of the shed, I can see I'm just going to have to remove a slither of soil just so that I can get it butt right up against the shed surface, and then I'll fix the front panel onto the two ends, and then it can shifty back into the right place. So that's the base in position, and we've got a nice clear break between the wood of the base and the shed because we don't want any damp transmission. And if you remember, or if you've watched my previous video, you'll know that my objective here was to enable this flange on the back of the fitting to slot underneath the shed, and that works perfectly this end. And we'll take a quick look round the other end just to make sure we've got the same tolerances. And there we go. And that means that the whole frame can sit flush with the back of the fence as long as there's no dip to the front. So the most important thing for me to check now is that the cross beams, these, are actually level. And I'll go and get my level and we'll see where we are. So we'll measure, or at least test, this level to start with. And that one is absolutely perfect. But I suspect this one on the left isn't. I always thought this corner would probably need to be taken out a little. And there we are. It's dipping a bit high, actually. It's dipping towards the back. So we're going to need to bring this corner down a bit, and then we should be getting a level beam, and that'll be important for getting the back of the framework flush. And there we are. It took a little bit of jigging around, but we're level. So that's the base in position and ready to receive the frame. And I'll assemble the frame and just make sure that everything is square, and I'll probably then leave this until I'm ready to put the rest of the frame up and just make sure that it's flush with the back of the shed. The base is now positioned on the frame and I'm pretty happy with that. It's not perfect, but it's a nice strong and flush fit with the back, and I've just tacked the frame onto the base now so that it doesn't move around while I'm constructing the upper part. And as I say, I'll do that another day. Well, it's not dry here, it's still pretty damp, but I think this is the driest day we're going to get this week, and I'm not going to let it pass without at least taking a line out here. Every bit helps, and it helps me get my head around it, so I'm going to go for it. So nice and flush and fairly rigid. I may end up doing some fixings against the shed. We'll see as we progress. And from the front you can see that it's not absolutely central with the shed. There's a little bit more gap over on the left than there is on the right. Nothing to worry about. The main thing is that it's in place and it's level and flush with the shed. So there's a door assembly with this frame, and it sits in the middle here, and I'm 6'2", so you can see that I should be able to walk in and out of that door without any problem at all. Obviously I need to be careful when it comes to the sides, but getting in and out is going to be very easy. And the door assembly is very much like a polytunnel, with straps round the bars on both sides and a wooden frame with a door in it, and I'll be creating that in due course. Well, the weather's not looking favourable over the next few days, but I want to be able to get in here and do some pricking out very soon, so it's good to get those planks in place. I won't fix them today, I'll just let that dry, and hopefully in the not too distant future I can work on the bench again and start some of that pricking out, and maybe a little bit more sewing. We'll see how we go. I had a thought. Did I actually invent this? I've never seen it before. I'm sure it's not unique, but then perhaps again it is. I'm talking about my plan to put sand in the bottom of the cold frame. I've never seen it on YouTube, and I've never read about it. Maybe I invented it. That would be cool. Today I'm going to fix the new bed in the polytunnel, and I'm going to use the same screw bolting method that I used on the new frame run that I'm making. The main thing is that it's just held together firmly, and I've got some cutting to do of the weed membrane so that I can fix that to the sides, and then I've got to take out the old beds and break up some soil, and I think that's probably what I'm going to do this morning, and then we'll see where we go from there. Once I've started fixing the sides of this bed together, it's going to be really difficult to move, so I need to do that in the right order, otherwise I can see I'm going to get myself in a pickle. So just looking at this, this is going to be the most difficult corner, so I probably need to shunt that plank back, give myself enough room to fix that corner first, then I can drop it in place and fix this one. Actually, probably shouldn't drop it in place first, fix both ends of that, and then I can move it back, and then this end's going to be that much easier to fix. So just thinking through how things piece together before you start, it's probably worthwhile. Okay, that seems to have done the job. Everything looks reasonably square, and the next step is to remove these beds. And the way I did these beds was to cut into the weed membrane and then fold the membrane up and over the beds to secure them and to contain all the earth. So I need to undo that, but use exactly the same method, attaching them to the new bed. So I'm going to get on with that and try and remove this carefully and remove the wooden old beds and work out what cuts I need to make to attach them to the new sides. Well, that was fiddly and quite tough on the knuckles, but we got it out, and it's now about working out the cuts. So this will go back over the edge much like that, so I need to cut down into this corner, and the same on the other side, and then when I get to here I'm going to take cuts up to the beams, and then I'll take a middle piece out and be able to flap that over also, and then work my way up the bed. There we go. That was pretty exhausting, if I'm honest, but we've got the weed membrane round the sides of the bed, and that's really important just to get everything contained. And we can see there's some extensive gaps under there, but that'll fill up when I start adding more soil. And under the weed membrane, the infamous couch grass was doing its best to take over, and I'm sure as I dig out this soil I will find more that I can remove and keep the bed in good order. Underneath where the membrane was, it's a real solid pan of soil, which is obviously dried, and you can see it's cracked there where it's got so dry in the past. And I'll need to turn that over, probably take out any stones or anything that I don't think should remain in the bed, and we're ready to mix more soil and add more soil, and I think that's going to be another day. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.